Right. Here's a couple issues with the video Matt Pet put out on Donkey being a human. See, he says that Donkey's being that he hasn't told anyone about Pleasure Island and that the kids are continuing to suffer there, but that's not entirely the only explanation. Oops. It is entirely possible. I'm gonna get you a stand. It's entirely possible that Donkey did not escape the island by going over the walls, but that he outsmarted his captors. That he just kept his mouth shut, and since he didn't talk, they didn't send him back to the island. As you saw with that one scene. Now, if that's true, he would end up in the care of, end up being owned and used by one of the salt miners. And if he had told them about the island, well, what would have happened from there? Either they died and he escaped, or they decided to do some research, and then the island found out the truth, and the island got shut down. It is also entirely possible that the reason Pinocchio is not a donkey in the Shrek movie is because, well, he never went to the island. So this might be, Shrek is the land of twisted fairy tales after all. What's the place called? The land called? I don't remember. But it's entirely possible that Donkey did tell someone about the island. And that the island is shut down. It's entirely possible. We don't actually see the island in the movie, so we don't know. But heck, Donkey ended up, being the number one best friend of Shrek, who became king. So once Shrek was king, Donkey could have told him about it off camera anyways. There was time between Shrek the Second and Shrek the Third. Or is that Shrek 2 and Shrek the Third? I don't know. The fact is that it is entirely possible that off camera, before Shrek the Third, Donkey told Shrek about this Pleasure Island. Dang, we're out of coffee. And that Shrek sent some of his soldiers to deal with it. Assuming that Donkey had told no one up to that point. But the reason Donkey doesn't want to talk about it, and hold on a second, Donkey also was married to a dragon who was able to breathe fire and destroy buildings. So it's possible that he flew it on his dragon and laid waste to the captors there. We don't see any of that. It never happens on camera, but it's not impossible. Heck, it's entirely possible that later in the movie series, we might end up seeing someone thanking Donkey for doing with that Pleasure Island thing. Who knows? But the fact is, even if Donkey did not outsmart them, even if Pleasure Island is still operating, the very idea of Donkey mentioning Pleasure Island to someone would mean that they would be like, hey, you've been to Pleasure Island, you can help us feed kids. You're coming with us back to Pleasure Island. And if not returning to Pleasure Island is at the top of Donkey's priority list, then it would make sense he doesn't mention it to anyone. Mentioning the island to anyone, and mentioning that he escaped from there, would lead to them inevitably asking Donkey, or ordering Donkey, or forcing Donkey, to go back to the island so that they could help him, because he has knowledge of the island. He has knowledge of what the land is shaped like, what doors there are, what hallways, what corridors, where the guard stations are. He has knowledge of that. So, inevitably, him being asked back to the island, or forced, to help them deal with the captors, is not something that Donkey wants to happen, because he does not want to go back to the island, you understand. So, even if Pleasure Island is still active, even if it's still up and running, the idea of Donkey returning to the island, keep in mind, Donkey was a young child when he was at the island. He wasn't a full-grown adult. And when you're a kid, things are bigger. I once went back to a place that I used to go to all the time when I was a child. And I was just amazed at how small everything was. I was like, I remember these things being much bigger. Well, I was smaller. So when you're small, things are bigger. So Donkey, the child, was there. And he was seeing these massive humans with these massive whips behind these massive walls. So obviously, he's more afraid of the place than he would be if he was there as an adult. And besides, once he goes back to the island, he could... the kids who are at the island, they get transformed. They become more donkey-like. They lose their brains, they lose their intelligence, they lose their memories of who they were, and Donkey doesn't want to lose that part of his brain. So, it's entirely possible Donkey did tell someone about that island. It's entirely possible the island isn't even dealt with. And that's possibly the reason why Pinocchio is not a donkey. It's because he never went to the island. That's why he's not a real boy. That's why he's not a donkey. He's still stuck at stage 2 because the island was shut down. Maybe. And if the island is not shut down, it wouldn't make sense for Donkey to tell someone, hey, I know things about the island. Well, you're coming with me back to the island. That's not something Donkey wants. He wants to leave it in the past, and he doesn't want to ever go anywhere near the island again. He's somewhat traumatized by it, you understand. So yeah, there's another couple possibilities that Matt Pett did not mention in his video. I just thought I would address these possibilities, you know? I mean, Donkey has no reason to fear, because he has Shrek, who has... At the beginning of Shrek the Third, Shrek has an army at his command. And he's married to a dragon, who can destroy things and set people on fire. So why would he be afraid of the island at that point? They probably mentioned it off camera. Before Shrek the Third started, it was probably dealt with. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, there's some possibilities. Pinocchio is probably older than he would have been if once he became a donkey, but whatever. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.